There we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dugout Football channel. A little bit different today. We're doing a pre-recorded preview today, and it is West Ham United against Liverpool. And joining me is an absolute legend, Mr. Rob Gates. How are you, mate?
I'm doing all right, mate. As I say, I think legend is probably a little bit too much for a description of me, but I will accept it in the spirit that it was meant. I'm glad to be here, mate. I'm very glad that you've asked me.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. We are actually recording this on, the back of a very good result today. 4-0 away at Bournemouth. I don't think you would have expected that.
No, not at all. As we was discussing just before we went live, I actually predicted a 2-2 draw. I think it was two teams that before this particular game that had seen something of an upsurge in form and results in recent weeks. And I just sort of thought we'd probably cancel each other out, to be honest. But 4-0, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was 2-0 after, I think it was 15 minutes there or thereabouts. I haven't actually seen, as we speak, I haven't seen any of the game at all. My daughter was playing football. It clashed with the West Ham game, and then there was a few other things we had to do afterwards. And I'm getting things coming through on my phone, as you do. Ping, oh, we're 1-0 up. Oh, okay. Ping, we're 2-0 up. Blimey. And then to win it 4-0 was quite astonishing. I really didn't see that coming, Doug. I really didn't.
I know it was a very, very good result. Would you say you're safe now? 34 points?
No, I think. Well, put it this way: 34 points. I'm not entirely sure if that is going to be enough to keep us up. But I think that with the amount of games that we have left, I think that we should be able to get another couple of points in what remains of the season. I mean, we've got 7 games left, I believe. So I think that there's plenty of scope to get a couple of extra points should it so be required. So we'll wait and see. But I think that realistically, I would suggest we're safe, but mathematically, there's still a bit of work to do.
Yeah, because when we sort of discuss your season, I mean, fantastic you've got into another semi-final. The Europa Conference League final. It is against AZ Alkmaar. That will be a very, very tough game. League-wise, though, it has been a bit of a struggle. Now, what were your expectations at the start of the season?
Well, I thought it would be very difficult. I mean, we'd obviously finished 6th and 7th in consecutive seasons, which, not being funny for a team of what we've done in our history, I mean, that was absolutely phenomenal. But I did sort of think that David Moyes, whether he liked it or not, by virtue of having a 6th place followed by a 7th place, which was aligned with a semi-final appearance in the Europa League, and then on the back of that, we then spent £180 million in the summer transfer window. Whether David Moyes liked it or not, he raised the bar by that sort of, by those situations coming back to back. So, I mean, he turned around in an interview that I heard with Talk Sport, and he was I think it was with Jim White, and he had Stuart Pearce in the studio with him, and this was several months ago, and he said that they discussed that this season would always be a transitional season. The problem is that as the season went on, I was sitting there and thinking, well, I didn't think he meant transitional from a Premier League club to a Championship one, but I mean, there's been a few little moments this season where I've really doubted whether we were going to be a Premier League club next season. And I know people would turn around and say, yeah, but West Ham have been relegated before and they've always come back a season or two later. But the thing that we didn't have then, which we have now, is a London stadium. And that does make a massive difference and I think that people don't quite realise this unless they're West Ham fans, is that there's a lot of fans that go to the stadium that I know are not West Ham fans. It's fairly obvious they're not West Ham fans. They're day trippers, they're tourists, they're people that have got local people that have middle class families that have got a decent amount of disposable income. There's a Premier League club on their doorstep. So, okay, let's go and watch a Premier League game. It's very hip and happening and all the rest of it. Are they going to come back next season if we was to find ourselves a championship club and in mid-November, a Wednesday night game in the freezing cold, pissing down rain against Rotherham, with all due respect to Rotherham, are we going to take 62,000? Of course we're not. That's going to be a half-empty stadium, and that would just be absolutely catastrophic as far as I'm concerned. Not just in the way it looks, but the finances and everything else. It really would be something that I think we would have a big problem coming back from if it was to happen. Thankfully, and I'm saying this touching wood now, I don't think it will, but there were moments when I had serious doubts.
Oh, I can imagine. As we obviously speak, it is really, really tight down there. It's like you are 6 points ahead of the relegation zone. But I look at the teams down there, and I look at like Everton. I don't really see them sort of picking up what you can never tell. You can never tell with this Premier League season. But I look at West Ham, and I think you've got enough firepower to keep you up. What has particularly gone wrong this season? Is it Moyes' tactics? Is it the players he's brought in? What has gone wrong?
I think it's a number of things, to be honest with you, Doug. I do think that David Moyes' tactics are part of it. But I do also think that a lot of the players that came in the summer, the one thing that I said when all this business was being done, and don't get me wrong, I was happy that the club were actually putting some cash down on the table and doing some business. It was great after a few seasons where we didn't invest in players. And then all of a sudden we were like, okay, right, we get him, and here's a barrel load of cash. Great, fantastic. But the one thing that I looked at and thought, well, actually, it was a couple of things I looked at. I thought, well, it's a big turnover of players. So are they all going to hit the ground running, or is there going to be some that are going to need a little bit of time? But the other thing that I did look at, and a lot of them, when you look at them, had limited to no Premier League experience. And I think that was huge, absolutely huge. People like Skamaka, who had no Premier League experience, people like Kera, who had no Premier League experience, people like Flynn Downs, no Premier League experience, and even the ones that did have Premier League experience, like Alphonse Areola, who obviously, yes, we had him on loan last season, but we signed him as a permanent in the summer. His experience in Premier League football has been quite limited. Emerson, quite limited. So that was one thing that did concern me. I sort of looked and thought, how is this all going to go? But Moyes' tactics seemed to, for a lot of it, seemed to have been contain the opposition for around about 70 minutes. And then for the last 20 minutes, let's go kitchen sink at them. And also, I do think, and this is something I even spotted last season, to be honest with you, Doug, that really wound me up, is his utilisation of the bench, substitutions. Very rarely will he make a tactical substitution before the 65th minute there or thereabouts. It's usually around about there that he starts making changes. Unless there's an injury, by and large, he won't make a change up to that point. And a lot of the changes are very much, very similar player coming on for a similar player coming off. There's not usually a substitution where you'll look and you'll go, oh, hello, he's trying something different there. He's bringing off a left back and he's bringing on a sort of like a central midfielder or something like that, where you look and you go, right, there's a fundamental change there in the tactics. Things are being moved around. He's trying something different. It would usually be, right, okay, we're taking a left back off and we're bringing the left back on. It would just be same old. And yeah, I mean, part of it I do think is Moyes. But the one thing I will say, in fairness to David Moyes, is I do think that David Moyes has become a little bit of a lightning rod for the criticism of the West Ham fans. A lot of it he's brought on himself, and as I say, I'm the first one to admit that. But I do think that a lot of the criticism has gone in the direction of David Moyes and not of the players, and the players need to take an amount of the responsibility for our performances this season.
100%. And I mean, I've been saying on a lot of shows that when you had that really, really sort of bad run to sort of start the season, and you were very, very low down, and obviously being 13th at the moment, I said that the Europa Conference League was keeping Moyes in a job. Would you agree?
Yes, and I think to a large extent, probably that it was also true for the back end, sort of like from the middle of last season as well, because I think that our Premier League form, if you actually look at it from January of 2022 onwards to the end of last season, our Premier League form was really nothing to write home about either. But
Yeah.
it was the Europa League run that was something of a distraction. Don't look over there at the Premier League form, which has bottomed out. Look over here. We're heading towards the semi-final of a European competition. So I do think that had it not been for the 2 European runs that have sort of went over the calendar year of 2022 and then into 2023 so far, I think that he might have been in a lot more trouble as far as his job was concerned. But it is what it is. He's part of why we've qualified 2 seasons back to back, and who knows, might even qualify for a 3rd year, because if we win the Conference League, we'll go into the Europa League next season as a result of winning it.
Yeah. Are you fancying your chances of winning it now?
Alkmaar's not going to be an easy game. I mean, look, they put Lazio out and they recovered from a 2-0 first leg deficit against Anderlecht, and they've advanced into the semi-finals. They're there on merit. This will not be an easy tie. The other thing that I think might slightly be a slight edge in their favour is the fact that they've got the second leg is their home leg. So that gives them something of an advantage. But then again, we've been in this position before. We had the quarterfinals of the Europa League last season. We played against Lyon in the first leg, drew 1-1. We had a player sent off into the bargain in Aaron Cresswell. And we then went to Lyon thinking, oh dear, that's a bit of a problem. And we tore them apart. We won 3-0. So we can do it. And I think on paper, we should have the stronger 11. We should have the stronger squad and all the rest of it. But football doesn't always work like that. The strongest team doesn't always win. We've got to make sure we turn up and we're professional and that we get the job done over the 2 legs. Because I think if we can get into that final in Prague, I look at the other side and I go, well, I mean, it's Fiorentina versus Basel. Again, neither of them are mug teams, but if we can get past Alkmaar, there's no reason why we can't beat whoever comes through the other semi-final, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And I look at that other game, and yes, it's very, very difficult. Look, Fiorentina are fantastic sides. Don't get me wrong. Basel have been nemesis for English clubs in the past as well. But obviously, you've got you got to get past Alkmaar first. And it'll be a very, very interesting game to say at the very, very least. Let's sort of go on to sort of the last meeting between Liverpool and West Ham, because it was a very narrow 1-0 win in that game. And I remember as well, I think you guys missed a penalty.
Bowen had a penalty saved. I don't think he missed it. I think it was Alisson that actually did his job between the sticks. It wasn't a particularly well struck penalty, and to the best of my recollection, I don't think he's taken a penalty for us since. So that's quite telling. But I mean, it was one of those. I mean, we've had a couple of times recently where we've gone to Anfield and we've managed to. All right, we've not managed to get the result, but we've shown a performance and a resolve where you've looked and gone, okay, we've got nothing out of it, but we've taken a very good team, one of Europe's best, into the trenches, and we've had to ask them some questions, and they've had to come up with some very difficult answers. But I think the one thing that gives me hope for the game on, well, not the one thing, but the thing that gives me hope is, number one, our form has improved just at the right time. So I'm looking at the game on Wednesday and thinking, okay, I've got a little bit more confidence than if this game had come on the back of, say, the 5-1 reverse against Newcastle about 2-3 weeks back. I'd have been absolutely bricking it, to be honest with you, Doug. But the form's improved, so that's one thing. And also, and you'll know this yourself, by and large, Liverpool on the road in the Premier League this season have been not the best. Yes, you got the result against Leeds United, but to be honest with you, Leeds United shipped 5 goals against a bang average Crystal Palace team. So 6 is probably sort of not really sort of too much out of line, to be honest with you. So I'm looking forward to it. It will be two teams that will hopefully try and play football on the front foot. May the best team win.
100%. And yeah, we have to get you back for last season, because actually, last season, you did actually beat us 3-2, and that was our first league defeat last season, was actually West Ham. So I know from obviously recent meetings between West Ham and Liverpool, there are definitely a couple of games I where I look at. Yep, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2, but that 3-2 last season. And the one thing I remember of that game, Antonio gave our defence an absolute horror show. As well. Fornals was very, very good as well. So where do you think you'll get some joy in this game?
Well, again, I mean, you mentioned Antonio. I mean, Antonio, for an awful lot of this season, as far as the Premier League's concerned, has been very much a bit part player. I mean, obviously, we've had Gianluca Scamacca. We've had then, obviously, Danny Ings has come in as well as a striker. And Antonio has been very much a player that's been utilised from the bench, not been someone that's maybe had the part to play that he has in previous seasons. But it has to be noted that in the last couple of weeks, he's come into the team and all of a sudden he's engaged beast mode. I mean, and again, I know that Ghent are not the best team in Europe, but against them in the second half, he was unplayable. He was looking back to the Antonio of last season, the season before. I think Antonio is very much one of these players that's a confidence player. If you're playing him and if he's hits a bit of a groove, he's in a little bit of a run, you look at him and you go, my God, what a player this guy is. Then you watch him on another game and it looks like he couldn't trap a bag of cement. I mean, it's feast or famine with him. And at the minute, he's on a little bit of a run. So I'm hoping that will continue for a little while to come before the end of the season.
And he loves a goal against us as well. He always seems to score. Always seems to score against us. So I can guarantee he'll probably score. Actually, to be fair, Fornals does like a goal against us as well.
I think Bowen is another one as well. I think Bowen is someone. I mean, again, he's someone that last season was one of our most potent attacking weapons. This season, not quite as effective, but then neither has the team been. So he's not alone there. But again, he's just hitting that little bit of form at the right time. And he's another player that I think you're going to have to watch out for.
Oh, definitely. From an outside sort of point of view, what have you made of Liverpool this season?
I'll be honest with you, mate. Very disappointing because I tipped Liverpool to win the Premier League. I thought you were going to come out of the traps. I thought you were going to sort of really put pressure on City. I think that for any team to win the Premier League in 3 consecutive seasons, it's incredibly difficult to do. But it looks like they're going to do it. And unfortunately, and I say this as someone, I grew up in the first sort of like teams that I remember seeing was the 1984 team. Liverpool won the European Cup. Bruce Grobbelaar with the old spaghetti legs. That was the first Liverpool team that I really remember, have a very vivid memory of. And they were always a team that played good football and all the rest of it. And I've always sort of like, you know, whether I support Liverpool or not, they're always a team that I've had a lot of respect for what they do. And like I say, I just thought that they would come flying out the traps this season, and I don't know why it's been. I don't know enough about all of the situations. I've heard people say it's because the midfield have just got old overnight. Some people have made the observation that Sadio Mane has been an absolutely monumental loss to your front line. I don't know whether you can confirm or deny that that's been the case. I suspect that possibly it might be more truth to it than anything. But yeah, I'm disappointed, mate, because I really thought you would run Man City close, and it's not even been. You've never really been in the conversation, to be fair.
No, you're absolutely right about. I think, let me be honest, I think injuries haven't helped us this season. Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, they've been out a long, long time. To be fair, Jota is getting in a little bit of form now. I think there's 4 goals in 2 games that he's had. Obviously, they are against Leeds and Nottingham Forest, per se, but it's good to see him getting back. Luis Diaz is slowly getting back. Midfield has been absolutely neglected time and time again. I mean, our last midfield signings was Thiago in 2020 and then Naby Keita in 2018. So it just goes to show it's just an ongoing problem. And I just think the fact that we went 64 games last season, it's going to take a lot out on the player. I did expect a bit of a drop-off, I've got to be honest. But I didn't sort of expect the drop-off that we have, had. And yet, the funniest thing is, okay, Newcastle battered Tottenham today, and then that was some game to watch. But we are slowly getting towards, Tottenham, and I think people are kind of now looking at us and thinking, we might get a bit of a good wee run, but our away form has been absolutely terrible this season. I think it's 4 away wins all season, and I think, if my memory serves me correctly, Aston Villa was one of them. And obviously that big Leeds, but we've lost to teams like Nottingham Forest,
Newcastle as well, Leeds, wasn't there?
Yeah, Newcastle. Yeah. It's just been very, very poor all season, and this is where I think West Ham fans will get up for it, because I think knowing that you beat us last season, knowing that you're a very, very good team when it comes to set pieces as well. So, and for me, if it wasn't for Alisson Becker, I kid you not, I'm looking at the league table now, we'd probably be in and amongst where West Ham are right now. He has been fantastic. There is a stat that is going around that he has saved 10% of goals that have been on his goal. So it just goes to show that when your goalkeeper is player of the season, that's a big problem. As well, but yeah, it's a big a lot of things, and I'm just hoping next season that we can, go into the market, whatever funds we have, and just sort of get that midfield problem away. But obviously that's the summer. Do I think we'll get a top 4? I've got to be honest, it is very, very doubtful. But if we win all our games, just basically focus on ourselves and don't worry about what Tottenham, Newcastle, even Manchester United to an extent as well. But obviously those two, I think, meet at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Thursday, I think it is. So yeah, just literally focus on ourselves and that's
all you can do, mate. That's all you can do.
Absolutely. There is another question I want to ask you. There is a lot of rumours about David Moyes potentially going at the end of the season. Do you think he will go?
Oh, if you'd have asked me that question 2-3 weeks ago, I'd have been quite certain of it, to be fair. But there's now a few whispers that have come out where David Moyes has turned around to people and gone, I'm going nowhere. I've already made plans for next season. I'm already making plans for players I'm bringing in. So on that basis, it sounds like he's probably going to still be around. I mean, I believe he's got another year on his contract. That don't always mean a lot, as we all know in football. Contracts aren't worth the paper they're printed on. But the noises that seem to be coming out seem to suggest that he would be staying on. And look, I mean, if we were to finish with the Europa Conference League in the trophy cabinet, and let's not kid ourselves, we're not a club that are pulling in trophies every year. The last trophy we won was in 1980 when we won the FA Cup. I was 4 years of age at that time, and I am, 2.5, 3 years off of being 50 years of age. So we can't afford, again, like I say, there will be some clubs that would go Conference League, it's a third-rate trophy. We're not interested.
As a trophy,
I'd take it. I'd snap that up. And if we finish 12th or thereabouts in the Premier League this season, I'd actually count that as a half-decent season, to be honest with you.
I would as well. And as I just said, there, a trophy is a trophy at the end of the day. And again, it's a gateway into the the Europa League. If you win the Europa League, you're in a gateway into the Champions League. I think that's what the thing is. I think now people are taking these European competitions more seriously because they know it's a sort of a gateway into another competition. And West Ham in the Europa League would be absolutely amazing. And I agree with the fact that you said that I think you probably will be safe. I think you are safe because again I look at the teams down there below, and obviously Forest are down there, Everton are down there, Leicester are down there. I don't really see them sort of being able to sort of overtake West Ham. Let's be honest, I am looking at the table again. You could still potentially get top half. 10th is not impossible at all.
No, it's not. But I think that we've got you guys on Wednesday. We've also got to play Manchester United. We've got Brentford away. Leeds United is the last home game of the season. We've also got Leicester on the last day of the season. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking that could literally be winner stays up, loser goes down, but I don't think it will be now, not as far as we're concerned. I do excuse my dog barking in the background. She's only a puppy, so, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, listen, if we can get somewhere near the top half of the table, like I say, 12th in a Conference League trophy, I think I would have taken that all day long before a ball was kicked this season.
I think the dog agrees with you.
The dog definitely does agree with me. She's a West Ham fan as well.
Yeah, she is. I can tell. I can definitely tell. Yeah, we'll go into starting 11s. What do you think the starting 11 for West Ham is going to be on Wednesday?
Fabianski in goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the basis of the team today, because I saw Cresswell played at left back, I'm not quite sure whether Moyes would play Cresswell 2 games in quick succession. So I think Emerson would come back in at left back, but at right back, I think Kufau is going to stay. I mean, he's a machine. I mean, he could play literally every game, a game every day of the week, not a problem. Then I think it's probably going to be, and obviously this is subject to fitness and all the rest of it. But I left centre back, I'm torn between Aguirre and Ogbonna. I think I might be tempted to put Ogbonna in for his experience. And then alongside him, Kurt Zouma. Midfield 3, I think he'll go with Rice at the base of the 3, and then Souček and Paquetá either side. And then I think he's got, because it was a 4-3-3 today against Bournemouth. So I suspect he might sort of stick with that largely. I think that possibly Fornals might be on the left of the front 3, potentially. Antonio through the middle and Bowen on the right.
Yeah. I'm going to go. I think there'll be changes in this game because we were unchanged against Nottingham Forest, and he went with the same team. It was obviously unchanged from that 6-1 drubbing at Leeds. So I think there will be changes. I'm going to go. I think it'll be Ali in goal because I don't think it'll be Keller. Obviously, pending an absolute an injury to Alisson or something, it probably will be Alisson in goal. Trying to right back. Kanate, Van Dijk, Robertson. I think this is where the change comes. I think Fabinho will come in still. He's actually on a tightrope. If he gets a yellow card, he will be banned for 2 games. So, yeah. And the problem with Fabinho this season, I keep saying it, he's had to get a yellow card to just basically start playing. So he has to watch himself. I think there will be a change with Thiago coming in for Jones. Then I think it'll be Henderson. And then, this is where it gets interesting because with obviously Jota scoring those 2 goals yesterday and against West Ham, I can't drop Jota. I think it'll be Gakpo, and I think Salah. I think Nunez is going to have to wait his turn. I know he scored the winner in obviously the game previous to us, but I honestly think it will be Jota, Gakpo, and Salah. And I've got to say, Gakpo has really, really impressed me recently. I think he's starting to show why we paid the money for him.
Yeah, I mean, he was someone that looked decent in the World Cup. So, I mean, he's still out. He's quite young, isn't he? What is he, 20, 21?
21, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got an awful lot of improving to do. Same with Nunez. He's another quite a young player. So, you've got a front line that is still got an awful lot of potential to improve, and you've got a lot of years that you can possibly get out of them. I mean, Salah's not going to go on forever. I mean, how old's he now? Sort of 28, 29?
30. Well,
Oh, he's
I
older
think
than I thought.
he turns 31 later this year. I think.
Okay,
He's
and
31.
obviously we know Firmino's off in the summer, isn't he? So
Yeah, he's away.
so yeah, I don't. As I say, I don't think your front line needs an awful lot of surgery. I think your midfield is where it's going to need to be done. It'd be interesting to see what Klopp does, and I'm guessing that you expect that Klopp will be the manager next season. So,
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see what he's going to do with the midfield. I mean, from what I understand, Bellingham's not going to happen now. That's a complete non-starter. So it'd be quite interesting to see what rabbit he's going to pull out the hat to try and sort of do a little bit of a repair job on that on the engine room.
Yeah, 100%. Right, I've got to ask you this, because you are picking up a bit of form. You did draw 2-2 with Arsenal. Arsenal, to be fair, Arsenal have gone off the boil ever so slightly recently. Score prediction, what are you going to go for?
Everyone's going to turn around and say I've got splinters in my arse, but I'm going to go for a draw. I think this is going to be a little bit of a cagey game. I think it will be two teams that have their strength, but also have their vulnerabilities as well. And I just got a funny feeling we're gonna cancel each other out. I think it will be a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Antonio to score, do you think?
Yeah, I think he'll either score or he'll have a hand in our goal in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I am not confident. I'm never confident going away from home. Let me just say that, especially this season.
You
I'm
can't
going to be
bet against your team, Doug. Come on.
No. I'm not going to bet against us. I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool. I think I've got a feeling that we need the first goal whenever we go away from home, because whenever we could basically concede the first goal, we seem to go on and lose. So I think we need to get the first goal in this game. I think the first goal is going to be so important as well. But it'll be a very, very good game. I'm looking forward to it. It's an interesting game as well, because it's sort of clashing in between sort of the big title decider between Manchester City and Arsenal. But I am looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to it. But Rob, thank you very much for coming on. I really do appreciate you coming on. Guys, please go and check out Forged from Iron, West Ham United. Fantastic channel. Tell us a little about your channel.
Yeah, basically, we're just two guys that set this channel up during lockdown. So we're just over 2 years old, and we're just two guys that just sit down and have a little chat about football, West Ham, and we get a few people that sort of like pitch in here and there. Obviously, yourself as being one of them who's popped up on a couple of occasions on the other side of the fence. So we have a good laugh about things. We try and do things well, but we don't go to any script. We have a bit of a laugh and a giggle sort of thing. It's a bit of a labor of love. The one thing I will say for anyone that does a YouTube channel is that there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that probably a lot of people that don't run YouTube channels don't even know happens, haven't got any conception of they're going on. And I didn't either, but I now do. Yeah, it's a labor of love. We're certainly not doing it for the money. We're doing it because we enjoy it. And yeah, if there's any of you guys that are watching that might be interested in having a look at two middle-aged men ramble on about football and more specifically about West Ham United, please pop along. And if I may, just give it a little plug. You'll note my hoodie, which has a little logo on it. It's not the West Ham logo specifically. It's a charity called the Iron Supporting Foodbanks, which it's a charity that we try and support on the channel. It operates in the Newham borough, which is the borough in London which West Ham resides within, and we're just basically trying to sort of do a little bit of fundraising for families that have fallen on stony ground. I mean, especially in this cost of living crisis where things are quite tough. Bills are sort of hard to pay and whatever, and we're just trying to sort of shine a light on it and raise a few funds for needy families in the Newham Borough. So as well as talking about football, we're also trying to lend our support to that cause as well.
No, it's a great cause. I'll leave a link to the Foodbanks in the description below, and I'll also leave a link to Rob's channel as well. Yep, him and Jukesy. It's very good channel. I do really recommend it. But guys, thank you very much for watching. Please do leave a like on the video as you leave, and also please do hit that subscribe button on my channel and obviously Rob's channel, Forged from Iron, West Ham United. Please go and check that out. But yeah, let us know your starting prediction, starting 11 prediction. Let us know your score prediction as well. Yes, another trip to East London is going to be very intriguing. Yeah, 3-2 last season. Let's hope for a bit better result this time. And we'll see you later. Take care. Bye bye.